Welcome to the astrology and the numerology for June 2nd, 2020. If you add all those numbers together, you get a 12. And if you add the 1 and the 2 together, you get the number 3. The number 3 is the number of positive mind, but it is also called devil and divine. It's about the two sides of our nature and becoming aware of those two sides. So think of it like the 1 is the I, the 2 is the duality, which is the light and the dark, the good and the bad, the right and the wrong. And the 3 is sort of like that place where you have perspective on both of those sides within your own nature. So if you have perspective on both the sides, if you know both sides exist, and you have an observer part, you can actually become highly functional, because I think that we all have a light and a dark side. That's just the nature of this world. It's the nature of the duality. But the problem I find is that people that don't get to know their darker side. And I personally would prefer for you to get to know him or her in meditation rather than on the streets right now doing violence. It is best to walk in peace and clarity rather than anger and the need to express unresolved emotions in your life with violence. It's just not helpful. And though it may be cathartic, it's just, again, not helpful, and it's not constructive to decent civilization. I have learned that unleashing pent-up dark emotions without any higher functioning mind to stabilize that energy is often disastrous and dangerous. That is why we have both a higher functioning self and a primal self. The game is to learn to get to listen to them and to have each other listen to them and to learn to work together. It is never wise to let one side dominate without conscience. So you all have known somebody who's just like too saccharine sweet. They're just like, oh, love and light, love and light, love and light. And you just want to vomit, because it's so not real. It's so not balanced. And so, my spidey sense goes, wow, they must be hiding something really big and really dark that they have sugar-coated it so much. But, you can sugarcoat poison, but it's still poison underneath. And when you learn to integrate those two sides, and you integrate your dark side and you acknowledge your dark side, it doesn't become a poison. It becomes sort of like a homeopathic, that you can take a homeopathic, which is a poison, and you dilute it down and it actually becomes something of healing. But when you don't allow the dark side out and you don't give it some fresh air, it has a tendency to run rampant at certain times, like now in the world. So we've got to learn to listen to the two sides of our nature, and we've got to get them to work together. And it's just never wise to let one side dominate without conscience. And that is how guilt evolves and cripples the soul. While you do need both sides in your core, because we are in a world of duality, learning discernment and self-restraint is critical to finding peace and balance. Now, the astrology for today, the moon starts out in Libra, but it's going to shift into Scorpio around noon Eastern Standard Time. So in the morning, you will find yourself relationship focused, but later you may want to go deeper into experiences and issues that are connected to something that has a psychological and spiritual meaning. Trying to make sense out of this crazy world will be impossible right now, but you can still try. I worry that the passionate energy of this moon will make disputes more violent, and vindictiveness and a desire to get even stronger. But at first, the moon is in Libra, and it will square Jupiter in Capricorn, and this puts civilians in opposition with the law and the authorities. So much is going to be wasted if we do that. Conflicts become normal. Damage to the world is happening at a rapid pace. Expect more splits, conflicts, and upsets before this is done. The Libra moon also squares Pluto in Capricorn and adds to the imbalance and hypersensitive reactions that are the norm at the moment. Venus is retrograde, and it squares Mars, bringing buried issues to the surface. Do not let this strong energy distract you into fantasies from your past or illusions you believed you were supposed to get. This is a difficult aspect. Stay real, stay present. Remember that the things that are supposed to be yours will be, and let everything else go. The moon in Scorpio squares Saturn in Aquarius, continuing the cycle of restriction, depression, dissatisfaction, stubbornness, and insincerity, and that has become the norm. But be warned, lashing out at others will make your luck run out. Venus in Gemini squares Mars in Pisces. Expect irritation to rise up again. Order continues to be displaced by chaos. Know that a passive or soft approach right now may make people very angry, but aggressive approaches will also not work. Just know your personal timing is off at the moment. So I would just not try to make some massive decision under this. People will be competitive and challenging to deal with. More and more people will feel discomfort with what is happening in the world. We have to find clear solutions to the complex problems that are happening. The moon in Scorpio trines Mercury in Cancer. Use your rush of intelligence for the greater good. Okay, my quote for today. We lived a comfortable lie for decades, but now we see that we were asleep. Asleep to the suffering that was happening all around us, asleep to the greed that was corrupting our country, asleep to those with power and control that use us exclusively for their own end, pretending that we're doing something for the people. But now our eyes are open and more of us are awake. And those that played us for fools are going to learn a lesson that they never wanted to learn. Okay. Thought I'd, on my blog today, give a little chat about the Piscean age and the Aquarian age and the differences here. So while the Piscean age died decades ago and controlled humanity and consciousness with materialism, competitiveness, limitation, manipulation, undermining, and the control of the feminine, most have not realized until now that age actually finished, and globally we are supposed to move into the Aquarian age. The Piscean age could also be called the age of self-undoing. History clearly records that we have been trapped in an orbit of war, conflict, and chaos, and that experience had become the established norm. The age of Pisces was about the darkness before the dawn, and now we are at that new dawn. That new life is calling, and that light is being redirected even while the clutches of the old refuse to let go. Cultures globally are collapsing under the heavy weight of maintaining the status quo. And that status quo is old, senile, and rigid in clutching at the staff of power. The instability, precariousness, and velocity at which things are shifting is due to the Aquarian age and its influence of air, change, and movement. The Aquarian age is a frequency and a vibration of energy that can be felt in the body. I have been feeling that shift energetically for a long time, and I know that many others have also. These shifts are due to the electromagnetic energies of the planet shifting. As the Earth shifts, so must we. Part of the problem is that the star Regulus positioned itself in the Leo-Virgo cusp at the turn of the century and opposed Polaris, our North Star, the star that guides us. This interfered with our direction and has led us to intense and cataclysmic polarization between the opposites. Aquarius continues to pour forth new waters of life, but those waters must first purify that which is ill, toxic, and holding darkness. We are cleansing our collective shadow. This return of the light disturbs the darkness and illuminates the dysfunction. Things fueled by dark intentions are exposed, naked, and lash out at those that hold the light that reveals its true motives. The age of Aquarius is also called the age of order. As this new age of enlightenment arrives, it includes a very new feminine ray, which adds a color, depth, and texture to this world. This new light is a form of ultraviolet light and is connected to actively knowing and spiritually accelerating through understanding and feeling into the subtle energetic qualities that surround situations, people, and events. There is yet much to be revealed. I find it interesting that in science we are learning so much more about the advanced civilizations that we thought had been lost to time. Those times were those centuries' age of enlightenment. And now they are being uncovered and revealed for the powerful intellect and insight that they held even thousands of years ago. As we crumble under the weight of our dysfunction, we begin to understand those cultures' demise. Perhaps that will help us understand our own. And in knowledge is the power to do something different. I believe humanity wants to evolve more than it wants to devolve. I am excited to see what we can create when we finally come together. Thanks, everybody.